next, that means is Rickey Hampton and the big fella, Milwaukee Bucks legend, Paul Mokeski. Hope everybody's having a great Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everybody still has some form of a bracket remaining.
I don't think there's any of those out there.
Yeah, and that's the way it goes. Welcome to all our viewers out there uh, at Chill House. Uh, check us out there at Chill House on YouTube. I'm sorry, Chill Town Hoops on YouTube. That's Chill Town Hoops on YouTube, where you can get this show and all our other shows at Chill Town Hoops. All our friends, we welcome all our new viewers. Well, we got so many new viewers thanks to our relationship with Sports Fluent and now Chill Town. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Just yeah, so licking my wounds for my bracket and my Jayhawks, and pretty much it's been a tough week for the Mokeski household.
Uh, Now, Steve checks in. Our great friend. I got perfect brackets.
Yeah, I
Not
know. Yeah, I
yeah.
know that. I don't even know if there's any left from the ESPN one. I think they're all gone.
Hey, man. Uh, and Daniel Berry, Sports Highlight says, yo, Daniel, thanks for tuning in, man. We appreciate uh, your questions and comments throughout the show. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions, Mo, about what's going on in the NCAA basketball tournament. We're going to talk some NCAA hoops, talk a little NBA, talk about one. I'm interested to see, uh, get your thoughts on some of these guys we watch on the college level that might become good NBA players. From you would know from your years coaching, playing, and scouting in the NBA. So we're gonna get to some of uh, that talk over the course of the show. But just Paul, your general thoughts about the first weekend of the NCAA men, and of course I'd be remiss if I didn't mention we got the ladies playing their second round games tonight, including the great Caitlin Clark at Iowa. But just your overall thoughts of what you've seen so far, Paul.
Well, I think everybody's, saw Oakland win and upset Kentucky, and some upsets there. But really, overall, there it's not an upset bracket. It's not. I remember last week I told you 15 teams that you wouldn't be surprised that would win it
Yeah,
all. There's still 12 of them that are still in the Sweet 16.
yeah,
So, it's kind of little, one upset like Oakland busts a lot of brackets, but in the long run, you know, the teams that are out now that we thought would be in still, Kentucky, Baylor, Auburn, those are, but those only a handful of teams. I mean, everybody else, Houston, UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Tennessee, Arizona, Iowa State, Creighton, Marquette, Duke, Illinois, Gonzaga, San Diego, they're all still there.
yeah.
They're all still there. So I think the games are going to get really, really interesting. And at this point, there is no more upsets. Any team can beat any other team in this bracket. I don't care if you're UConn or whoever. Just ask Houston after they just scraped by the other night, in overtime, which was mind-boggling to me when I sat here and watched Houston let uh, uh, the team. They were up by three, and the other team get a three-point shot off with 1 second left. That's insanity. And then to have 45 free throw shot against them. There was 80 something free throw shot in that game. That's ridiculous. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I think all the good teams are still in, except for my Jayhawks. Wah, wah, wah. But
And I want to get to that because Bill Self has some interesting comments. We're going to get to that, but Mo, I want to go back to the last second 3-point shot. if you're coaching, they don't get that shot off. Because what's your instruction to your team?
Well, if you saw the ball was out of bounds underneath, right? And they had 1.2 seconds, whatever. So I'm guarding the 3-point line no matter what. I mean, I was kicking around here, it would look really weird. But if you put all your defenders above the 3-point line, even though the basket, you're going to give up a
Wide
wide
open.
open layup, right? You're going to look like it's going to look crazy, but you can't lose. Take the
Right.
layup. But the problem is what happens a lot of times, and I learned this as a coach, and because you talk in a huddle and you kind of work on it. And okay, what we're gonna do? Here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna match up. Nobody shoot threes, and we're gonna switch everything. We're gonna switch. And did you see what happened?
Yeah.
Two guys messed up their switch. One
Yeah.
guy switched, the other guy didn't switch. Two guys on one guy, and then they get a wide open three. So I learned a long time ago when I coach on a last second play like that, I never switch. Get through your guy because there's so much miscommunication, and that's what happened. And I saw it happen, and you see they both went, and then they're looking at each other. Well, I thought we were switching. Well, you said to switch. I said to switch, and they didn't switch. And the guy got a wide open three and knocked it down. And as we know, and I keep saying in all the shows, whenever something happens like that, an offensive rebound kick out, a fluke kick out, someone kicks the ball, those threes always seem to go in.
Yeah. They really do, Paul. They really do. And going back to your point on how strong this Sweet 16 field is, I mean, you look at North Carolina State is the highest. I mean, the lowest ranked seed with 11 seed, but it's North Carolina State that plays in the ACC that plays a Power Five basketball schedule. So I mean, it's hard to think of them as a Cinderella, a former national championship, a school with multiple national championships.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of conference matters. Who you play matters. Um, so uh, you know, there's a fine line in college basketball because in college basketball, you can dictate your schedule, your post your before the season starts schedule. I mean, before the league starts, your league schedule is already dictated, but you can schedule 10, 11 games on your own. You can schedule tough teams, bad teams, worse team. You can schedule who you want. So you got to kind of blend it and schedule some really good competition in there for 2 or 3 games, but you can't afford to lose a lot of those games. So you got to make sure you win the other ones so you can actually get in the tournament.
Yeah, yeah. Who do you think is the best team left, Mo?
I mean, if I knew that, I'd be a millionaire. I'd make $1 million. But
Well,
you know,
what team you like the best? Because you're right, anything can happen here.
well, everybody that I know is looking at UConn. They've been there before. They won it last year. We actually have a rematch, right? We got San Diego State against UConn coming up,
Yeah.
which is going to be interesting. San Diego State has a all totally different team, pretty much, and UConn has, they have good guards. They have a really good 7-2 big. I was kind of hot on Houston because they're more mature. They're 21, 22-year-old guys. They're physical, they're strong. But I just saw the other night they foul too much, and I mean 4 of the starters fouled out of that game. They were lucky to get away with that. So I like Tennessee. I like Iowa State, but I'm going to stick with who I talked about a couple months ago and who people laugh at me when I say it. I think Purdue's the best team out there. Everybody says, well, Zach Edey is just a big guy that can't get out and guard pick and roll, and but hell, he had a double double at freaking halftime. I mean, so you got to stop him, right? And they have a very good coach. They know how to throw him the ball in the post. They know how to move off that. They have a decent point guard. They got a wing that can really shoot the three, and they know what they're doing. And they got immovable force in Eddie, who's the MVP of the whole league. So I'm going to go with them. I mean, I know they got to guard pick and rolls. I know they got to do all that stuff, but in push comes to shove, if it's, I'm going to go with the 7'4" guy that you can't stop and can make his free throws, and a team and a coach that know how to use him.
We, we've
I
talked about we've talked about him quite a bit. He was the national player of the year last year, and he's favored to win it again this year. I mean, because he has been the most dominant player in college basketball. But now I'm reading there are people saying that he will be a first round draft pick this year. He won't, maybe not a lottery pick, but he'll go in the first round, which I guess is a step up from last year when they were saying he wouldn't even go in the first round.
First of all, in NBA draft, if people are telling you, yeah, you're probably at the end of the first round, that means you're a second rounder. That's what that means.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't tell what NBA teams are going to pick. He's a unique individual. His size, he's kind of old school. So you can't predict that he's going to go in the first round. That's insanity. And the problem with the NBA is they draft a lot on potential. 7 out of the top 10 picks in the NBA draft this year are going to be 19 or 18 years old.
Yeah.
And if you look in the tournament now, the teams that are still in have 21, 22, 23-year-old players on it. Because they're more picked to win at the college level. But I've talked to scouts about Edie, and people think he can't guard the pick and roll. Well, either can Yao Ming, either can Brooke Lopez, either can a lot of players. So you can't tell me that that he can't play in the NBA. Now it's going to take. They're not going to throw him the ball in the post all the time. He's going to have to learn how to pick and roll more efficiently, catch and kick it out more efficiently. He has to learn how to get a jump shot, even if it's not a 3-point shot. Maybe it's an 18-footer that he can be consistent with. And then he's going to be able to protect the rim. He's lost, I think, about 20 pounds, maybe a little more. Every scout I talked to said he's moving a lot better, but he's never going to be the guy that can get out and guard a guy and switch in on a pick and roll. But either are all these other guys in the NBA, and they're doing pretty well. So it's going to be interesting because in the latter rounds of the first round, and especially in the second round, what NBA teams do is they go for young European players that are overseas, maybe stay over there for a couple more years, or some long athletic guy. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm glad to see that at least some people are saying, he should be in the first round.
Chris has an interesting question. What team does Zach fit with, just off the top of your head?
Well, really, Zach, I mean, Chris, he doesn't fit with anybody, really. He's going to have to fit in for wherever he goes. So, but if you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, who are making a run right now, Brooke Lopez has been their center forever. And, he slacks off on the pick and roll, so they're already used to doing that. And then he contains, he gets back to his guys, so they're already used to doing that. Maybe someone like that, where a team like that he can fit in with, already have a player like that they can just plug in, and he can play the same way. But he's going to have to adapt his game, no question about it. He's not 7'5" Wembyambe who can bring the ball down and shoot threes. That's not him. He's a rim protector, rebounder, and got a great touch underneath. He can go right, left hand. He's going to have to learn, how to contain guys on the perimeter somewhat. But look at the league, man. Just look at the league. No one stays in front of their man anyway. So what?
Yeah. Hey, Jake checks in. This dude on the right got a winning record against MJ in the playoffs. That's y'all's go. That's the truth, Mo. Y'all wasn't worried about Michael when Chicago came to Milwaukee.
Well, not at first. When he had a kind of a secondary team, we used to kick their butts. That's right. And even when they got better, they got Scotty Pippen and Horace Grant, those guys. But don't sleep on the Milwaukee Bucks of the '80s, man. If you look at, we had the best record in the '80s of all those teams: Philly, Chicago, Boston, Lakers. Look at the whole '80s. We had the best record. We just couldn't get over the hump and get to the finals. But Appreciate it,
Yeah,
Jake.
y'all had that was just so rough. You always had to go through Philly and Boston. One of those two, which they were great teams also, while the
And
Lakers were over there just cruising to the finals.
yeah, and guess what? We had to beat Atlanta Hawks that had Dominique Wilkins on, or
Yeah,
the Detroit Pistons, or the New
yeah,
Jersey Nets when they had Buck Williams. Those guys,
yeah.
none of those rounds in the East were easy. And you're right. We look at the Lakers, and you're playing some teams that during the year we went out there and beat them by 30. So
Yeah, Chris brings up your Facebook picture. You shooting that little jump hook over.
no, that was a dunk. I threw it down on
But I used to love your little sweeping hook.
him.
That was a really good shot for you throughout your career.
My dad taught that to me. My dad played at University of Detroit, and then he went to Gonzaga and played there. He played against Elgin Baylor in Gonzaga. Elgin Baylor went to Seattle University. And, I used to, when I was a kid, grade school and early high school, I'd be out in the front yard on our driveway, shooting, shots. And he showed me the running hook. That's what he used to shoot. He used to shoot the running hook. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised that more players don't learn that. I don't know that the skyhook is very, very difficult. I mean, it takes a lot of touch and man, but I'd be surprised why players don't use that. But a running hook, Patrick Ewing was one of the best also with the Knicks. He used to get that 1-2 across the lane, and it's hard to stop. And in today's game, you would be having N1s all the time because they call
Well,
fouls.
Mo, what's the difference between the sky hook and the little sweeping hook that you shot?
Well, the sweeping hook is just like you said, you sweep. Sky hook is you come up like this and just release it with your wrist. You're not sweeping. You're coming up and just releasing with your wrist.
And Kareem, he could shoot that from 15 feet.
Hold on.
Okay, are we getting a demonstration here from Mo?
No, we're kidding. See how old I am.
Yeah. Whoa.
That's a sky hook right there.
Whoa. I mean, Mo, that's great defense, but
But see, so he's getting up to the top of, and then he's just releasing it with his wrist. Touch shot.
and he shot it with both hands.
Yeah, but he was mostly righty. His
Yeah.
left wasn't broke, but very. You push him to his left side and hope he misses. But if he got to his right shoulder, it's over. He could shoot that thing from 16 feet out.
That's a great picture, man. I love that. But at least you guys went and put him up with his left, and that's Randy. That's Randy
think,
Brewer right there, right?
Yeah, Randy Brewer's 7'3". He's right here, 7'3", and that's 7 foot, and that's 7'3" Hall of Famer.
Damn. That's some awesome stuff. Hey Mo, is there anybody that you watched throughout the tournament so far that you like? You think this guy, his game might translate to the NBA?
Well, I mean, two of the players that I was interested in looking at a little bit more were the Kentucky players. Rob Dillingham and Reed Shaps.
Chef,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, they're lottery picks, and they got wiped out in the first game, so we didn't get to see them. But I like Stephon Castle from UConn. He's a guard that distributes. He can play defense. He can score when needed. And I also like Klingon, the 7'2" kid from UConn. Donovan, who he can run. He's athletic. He's long. I think he knocked down a 3-pointer the other day. He can get that in his game. So I like him. Kyle Filipowski, kid from Duke. The big kid from Duke.
6'11" kid, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if his game transfers over. I mean, he could be like a Kevin Love type, or he could not be. So he's kind of a
That's
hit
what
or
I'm saying.
miss. You know,
If he, Kevin
you know.
Love has had a really good career.
Yeah, but Kevin Love can really rebound, and uh, that's kind of a skill that I don't know if Kyle from Duke has, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out as it goes on. Dalton Knecht, the kid from Tennessee, 6'7" kid. Uh, he is very sneaky. He's long. He's got an NBA body, and he's one of the players in the whole country. He is 6 times this season he scored over 30 points. It's not many of those guys. One of them might be Edie. And you know what? I like to see Edie. I just, I've talked to scouts before, even last year, and I'm like, so I see Edie as kind of, Yao Ming and Brooke Lopez. He's kind of in between there somewhere, So that's not a bad player to have, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you could get that production, Champion checks in and said, nothing special about having a winning record against a guy who couldn't open his door with his left hand. There are a lot of people that always said Michael couldn't go left, Paul.
No, he'd like to go right, but his left wasn't broke. Like, I played with John Lucas, who's a lefty, and you know, you would push him right, and he'd go in a circle to go back left. So he had no right. Michael Jordan wasn't like that. But here's what happened, and that's a really good comment because it was in the scouting report. If you let Michael go right, he's going to go all the way, and he's going to get fouled, N1, hang in the air, or dunk on you, and you're on ESPN that night. If you make him go left, more than likely he's going to go a dribble or two and pull up for a shot, or he's going to kick it out. So that was the scouting report on him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he found a way to make it work, whatever. Because I mean, every basketball player has there's no such thing as a perfect basketball player. So when you scout them, everybody has something that you try to make them
Well,
do.
when you get to the NBA level, there's things you like to do more than other things you still can do. Don't get it
Yeah,
mixed up. I mean, that's a high level, and that's why when I play, but even more when I coach, you taught players moves and counter moves. So if I have a nice little little right hand hook, and I can turn my left shoulder, then my counter move is a one dribble drop step back to my right shoulder, or a jump shot Dirk Nowitzki shot now. So you have to have both moves, or when you get to the playoffs or the tournament, they're going to play. They're going to really scout you and play your strengths and force you to use your weaknesses. And you better have weaknesses that are good enough to get by.
and again, that's when teams can really lock in on you because they're playing you for the next 2 weeks and not one night in a back to back. When you can really go in depth in that scouting report. And I think that's why the NBA playoffs are so great, Paul.
You can't hide. You can't hide your team. You can't hide your coaching, and you can't hide your skills in a 7-game series. Can't hide. It's like playing 3-on-3 basketball. You can't hide in 3-on-3 basketball. 5-on-5, you go hide in the corner, you're a shooter, or underneath the basket. But in a 7-game series, you can't hide. Your team can't hide its weaknesses, and your players can't hide their weaknesses. And quite frankly, your coaches can't hide their weaknesses. Some coaches, aren't good with side out of bounds or last second ATOs, and that's after timeouts or stuff like that. Some are really good at it. So, it's not like in the tournament here, which is exciting, but you can get away with a lot of stuff. You've never seen me play before. You see me on film, and I'm going to play you, and maybe I'm going to throw a trap. I'm going to trap you every time you go to the left corner. I'm going to throw something in, and by the time you figure it out, the game's over.
Yeah, hey, Mo, I like Woodage 84. He's talking about some people like to complicate the games these days.
Well, it's as simple or as complicated as you make it. So, the game, if you're talking about strategies at the NBA level and, It's very complicated. You're talking about individual tendencies, team tendencies, substitution patterns, speed of the game, all these things, all the statistics and all that stuff, which is very important. But I'll tell you this: feel for the game has a lot to do with it also. Don Nelson, one of the best coaches I ever played for, and I played for Hall of Famers Del Harris and Lenny Wilkins. I mean, pretty good coaches. But Nelly was a guy that thought outside the box. He took all those information and all that complicated stuff you're talking about and used it. But then in the end, during the game, he went with his feel. He had that info, and then the decision he made were by his feel for the game. You have to have both.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mo, I want to play this. You are a proud Kansas Jayhawk. Unfortunately, things didn't go too well for them over the weekend. This comment from Bill Self, great coach, Hall of Fame. I think he's already in the Hall of Fame. Has caused some controversy.
Competitor that you are, I'm sure this will stick with you. But I mean, is it something you already feel like I got to start thinking about next season, or you got to absorb this for a little while?
Well, I think for the last month, I've been thinking about next season. To be honest, not in the moments during the game, but obviously we played. We had 8 guys on scholarship, and we played. I mean, that were healthy there late, and injuries are part of the game, so that's not an excuse. But we could have done a much better job as a staff. Putting more guys out there that we could play. And so that's something that I've thought about for a long time. And the thing about it is in basketball, early on, you can play through some things, but the course of a season, there's a grind that goes with it, and bodies get run downs, injuries occur. That's all part of it. And when you don't have as much firepower or as that maybe you've had in past years, it certainly showed this year.
Well, you're a Jayhawk alumnus, one of the great players in his program's history.
Well, I mean, I know his frustration. He's frustrated because they were hurt. The best player didn't play. Actually, I forgot. I looked back. One of their players, one of their supposed starters this year was kicked off the team because he had some charges against him. So he lost that. And he wasn't a very deep team, and some of the players that he thought were going to be better weren't. So he had frustration, and I understand that. But the bottom line is, you're the guy that runs the staff that recruits everybody. You're the guy that makes all the decisions on who you have. And the problem, there's a problem with NIL money. NIL money and transfer portal is taking over college basketball and football and other sports, and it might be its downfall in the long run. So I see his frustration, but what I believe happened is he put a lot of their NIL budget money into Hunter Dickinson, who's a great player, but then he didn't have some left over for other guys. So you're not going to be very deep. He was 5 or 6 players deep at the most. But here's my point, though. All this stuff, whatever, and he's caught a lot of crap for it, which probably rightfully so. There is a time and a place to say things. That was not the time, and that was not the place to say this. After you lose a game, where you're up by 1 point at halftime, by the way, and then you're at a press conference where your players are hurting the locker room, your staff is, you're hurting. It's not the time to say anything like that. And here's the thing. I might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but I know this. If I was put in that situation and I was asked that question, and reporters are trying to, they're trying to, Ricky, you try to get us sometime. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to play the game, man. So I would have said, hey, listen, Ricky, to answer your question, recruiting in college is a year-round process. And we think about next year all year long. We talk about what players are coming back, who we're looking at, who we're focusing on, who we're targeting, and that's an ongoing process that happens every day, all season long. So it's nothing new. So if you're saying I'm looking ahead to next year, well, every coach does. It's called recruiting. So but that's the way you would have to present that. Not, I don't like the way that he presented that and the time and the place. It was just not good timing.
Yeah, but I still don't think that was as bad as Rick Pitino's comments earlier in the year, where he just threw his team under the bus. We're unathletic, uh, and called out names. So and so can't move, doesn't have lateral.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, calling out specific names, especially for kids, and then he apologized to the parents. Once it's out of the bag, it's too late, right? You can't
Right.
put that, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So, you just got to be careful what you say. I've been around the game a long time. A lot of times, when I was in a situation where in the NBA, whether it was Dallas or Charlotte or wherever, and we have a tough loss, and the head coach has to go speak to the media, you guys, right? And he knows he's going to get all these questions. So, I try to make sure that the head coaches, whoever that might be, has a little buffer time to calm down, because the worst thing you want to do is right after the game and you're mad anyway, and then go out there and then someone like you, Ricky, asks me some stupid question and then I say stuff I shouldn't have said. You got to calm down, and you got to be sure you're aware of where you're going, you got to deal with it at that time, and it's tough. I mean, sports is an emotional thing, not only for players, for coaches also. Their livelihoods are on the line, a lot of them, and you get all hyped up, and you got to take a deep breath before you go in that press room.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna put this up there. I think Chris was talking about this. May have been Steve talking about this early in the year in the program. That's Mo. Can you see that?
No.
You can't see it. Ah, okay. I was trying to get the picture up of you shooting over McHale, and people don't realize how long Kevin McHale was 6'10", but those arms probably made him 7'2"
Oh
himself.
yeah. He's 6'11", but in basketball, your height is not how tall you are in basketball. It's how high you can reach. It's your arm span, how high you can reach. Because if I'm standing there and I can reach 9 feet, I play 9 feet tall. If I can reach 10, 9, 8, or 10, I'm longer than you. I mean, so that's how tall you are. And McHale, his height his regular height was 6'11", but his arm span made him about 7'3", 7'4", for sure.
So he was actually taller than Kevin Willis, who was a 7-footer out of Michigan State, but had the shorter arm.
Yeah, Kevin wasn't 7 foot either. I'll tell you that right now. Kevin was closer to 6'10" than he was at 7 foot. But
Okay.
yeah, he looked jacked because his arms were so short. I think we're playing the Hawks in a playoff series, and if you know Larry Kristoviak, he played for
Yeah,
the Bucks,
good player.
yeah, he has short arms too, and they got into a tussle. And me and Sick were saying, "Look at that short left hook to short right hook."
Hey man, let's move on to the NBA. And Mo, I want to start. We hardly talk about this team, so I think we ought to give them their due. And that's the Houston Rockets, who have climbed all the way back to 500. They've won 8 straight games. They're 35-35 now, and just a game behind Golden State for the 10th playoff spot.
Yeah, so all they're
Is
doing
this
right
surprise?
now,
Is that surge a surprise to you?
maybe a little bit. I don't really know their team that well. They've struggled all year, but from what people tell me, they play really hard and they have some young talent. But the problem is, you know what they're doing? They're just screwing up their draft pick. That's all they're doing. So they make the play-in at the 11th spot. So what? You're not going to go any further. I mean, the good news is they don't own their first round pick, so that's okay. So,
Yeah.
you love to finish on a high as a staff, coaches, general managers, player personnel. You get to see there's going to be decisions made in every team at the end of the year, not only the ones that make the playoffs, all the other ones. And their decisions are going to be, who do we want to keep, who do we want to let go, and who do we want to target later, and who do we want to keep to get more playing time next year. And those are decisions that are being made right now in a situation where they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. So that's a good situation to be an evaluator of. And you make the play in, you get a game with some little pressure in it for to set you up for next year.
Yeah, and some of that young talent is Jalen Green has had a couple of really good games. Fred Van Fleet has been really big for them, Paul, with his play and leadership over the course of a year.
He
And
was a he was a very sought after free agent a couple of years ago, Van Fleet,
right,
because he's a
right.
really good combo guard. He could score, he could defend, he's strong, and he found a home there in Houston. But he could help a lot of playoff teams right now.
And Mo, a guy like Van Fleet wasn't even drafted, and has had this really good NBA career. 6 foot, had a really good career at Iowa State. How do we keep missing? Well, it's a credit to the athlete to persevere, but isn't that also a dig on the scouts?
No, I mean it's the right place, right time, right situation. There's a lot of players in college and other places that could be on NBA rosters, but they never got the chance. I mean, so they didn't
Yeah,
get brought in by that. Maybe they got brought in, if I'm a 7-foot backup center and I go into training camp and they already have two backup 7-foot center, I'm not going to make that team. If I would have went to another team that didn't even have a backup center, I might have a long 12-year NBA career. It's all about
yeah,
situation. I mean, there's only 400 and something NBA players in the world. There's way more great players in the world than that, so they are somewhere. And so part of it is a situation, part of it is your drive and and your talent and being able to work on your talent when you need to, because guys, college is college. It's not NBA. College is college, man. I mean, you're playing against kids. You're playing against inferior physical people. Usually, You might play against a team that has two good 3-point shooters. You're in the NBA. Everybody shoots threes, so it's a totally different animal. So maybe some people missed on it, but not really. There's a lot of players out there. I mean,
yeah.
you go look at high level European players, and there's a lot of good players out there playing over in Europe, making good livings that could be on NBA teams for sure.
Hey, this is from Wood Age 84. Paul, how was it playing with Isaiah Thomas?
Well, Isaiah was a rookie. We were a bad team the year before, and we got Isaiah Thomas and Kelly Tripucka, good young players. Kelly Tripucka was a wing from Notre Dame. I think he averaged 20-something points a game first few years in the league, and we were starting to really come along as a team. And Isaiah was a rookie, but he never acted like nor played like a rookie. I knew after the first week of training camp that he was a leader. He was very talented. There's people that have a lot of talent and then but don't know how to really get along with teams or have their talent help other players or don't have any leadership qualities, and they're a dime a dozen. But you find someone like Isaiah Thomas who has all the talent in the world, but also just has a knack for getting along with all the players, all different types from all different areas in the country, and helping them be better, and in turn helping the team be better. And then guess what? You're a leader, and
Yeah,
that's what he was right off the bat.
yeah. And Chris talking about Fred VanVleet won that championship. Then he's joking about Kevin Willis. Uh, I think Kevin had the nickname Rex when he played T-Rex
Yep,
when he played.
yeah, he did.
Kevin played a lot of years, man. I think 17, 18
Yeah, at
years.
least, yep. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you went out to dinner, you couldn't reach his pockets, so you had to do the
Uh, our
tip.
ladies up 2 in the dog fight. I think Caitlin will come through in the clutch, Steve. I'm going to predict that. You keep us updated on that game, please.
Yeah, I was just kind of flipping around, and UConn struggled tonight to win a game at home in UConn. So, there's some good, there's more um, college women teams in Iowa and Tennessee and UConn that could come. My Kansas Jayhawk ladies are playing. I think they play USC tonight
Yep.
in the tournament.
Yep. So they got to deal with the hot shot freshman Juju.
Yep.
And man, we're just enjoying these questions and comments. Keep them coming. And don't forget to subscribe to our show at Chilltown Hoops on YouTube. That way you'll get all our content coming directly to you. So we certainly appreciate that. Let's go here. Oh man, yeah, Mo. Did you see the story about Otani's interpreter? I mean,
Yes.
but the bigger question is, when you guys high profile, you're in the NBA, you high profile. People know you are making a good sum of money, and how do teams tell you, "Hey, you got to be careful about this"? Do they have seminars or anything to help players
Yes.
understand the pitfalls? Okay. And I'm
Yes. Big
sure
time.
Major League Base, I know the NFL does. I'm
Uh,
sure.
uh, Someone will come in at training camp, someone from the FBI, someone from the Gaming Association, someone for president of your team, someone from the front office, and they'll talk about all this stuff. And not only about not placing bets and watching who you talk to. I mean, I remember the talk the FBI gave us when I was in Milwaukee, saying you never know, you might be in an elevator in Philadelphia with some guy that's going up to his room and he knows you're a player and he says, "Hey, are you Paul Mokeski? Plays for the Bucks? Yeah, yeah, okay, great. Yeah, I love your game. Blah 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 blah. Hey, I heard Sidney Moncrief sprained his ankle the other day. How's he doing?" Because they're looking, and you can't answer that. And if someone came up to you with those kind of questions, you had to turn it into the team, and they turned it into the league, because people are always. I'm in Vegas now. Everybody's looking for a little hedge they can get, and know that Ricky has a toothache or Paul's ankle is sprained, and that point spread of 6.5. Maybe I go with that. So yeah, it's more than covered in all the teams by all the people. And the thing with the baseball player, I mean, wow, $4 million. The guy makes $70 million a year.
I didn't even know it
That's
was
like,
missing.
and that's still 4 million is a lot of money, but that's like 400 to you and me, Ricky. I mean,
Yeah.
so but I don't know. I looked into that a little bit. I've dealt with interpreters before. Um, we had Wang Zhuzhu, one of the best players in China, to play for Dallas for 2 years when I was there, and he had a full-time interpreter that was hired by the team. And what happens is, because one thing you say, how would you let an interpreter get access to your accounts? The thing is, though, when you're from a country like that and you come here, your interpreter is more than an interpreter. He's like your friend. And you go out to dinner with them, you get breakfast with them, you go to meetings, and you go to movies, and so he's like your trusted guy that you trust because you don't speak the language of everybody else. So I can
And
see how that could happen a little bit. But in the long run, I saw his news conference today, and he denied ever giving the guy money to pay debts and all that stuff. But you kind of want to think that maybe that guy's covering for him. But
but
I hate to say that, but maybe.
but Mo, you played overseas, you coached overseas, so you know what it's like to be in a foreign land and living in a foreign. That can't be very comfortable.
No, I mean, different countries are different. Obviously, I coached with the Great Britain national team, and I spent 3 months in England and all over. They speak English. Food is bad, but other than that, it's okay. I also spent a month in China doing basketball camps for NBA China. 1 month in China where Linda and myself were probably, and our interpreter were the only people that really spoke English for a month. And I remember really, really difficult. And I remember when we landed in Chicago to get our connection, and I went into sensory overload because all these people were speaking English, and I could hear them because when you're China, you don't understand what they're saying, so you just block them out and have your conversation. You don't even. It's like background noise. But then I got off the plane and it's like everybody's talking English, so it's
Wow.
very difficult, very, very difficult, depending on what country you're in.
Hey Mo, Drew Holiday, who has hinted about maybe retiring soon, he's out for the Celtics say he's out indefinitely. I mean, they definitely don't want to arrest him because they got everything pretty much locked up. But he said he has a dead arm. I'm feeling something for sure, Holiday said. I still want to play. That's part of the reason I play basketball. But it's also keep the rhythm. Sometimes when you're out a long time, you break your rhythm. But I feel like I've been in a good groove and I want to continue to play. But they're going to sit him a bit.
Yeah, he's been out for a while. I thought it was a foot injury, but I didn't know that much. I don't know what a dead arm is. Is that your shoulder? Is that your back? Your spine? I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound very good. And
he heard it running through a screen.
Oh, okay, so it's like, but you know what? I mean, I don't know. Is it a stinger? I mean, football players have a stinger all the time when they play, right? Obviously they got to check it out, and you got to make sure that everything's okay because running the screens is no joke either. I used to set them; it was kind of fun, but I would, that would really hurt the Celtics. I mean, they're still rolling. They got they're 11 games up with 11 games left. Hello. So, him in that lineup makes him a favorite of winning the championship. Him out of that lineup brings them back down to the Bucks, Philly, if Embiid is healthy, maybe the Knicks, if everybody, so that's a big thing. And I think he's a free agent also. I think he's a free agent I think he has an option to make only 36 million next year if he takes that option, only 36 million, or he can sign for 250 million if they extend him. So this is a big decision coming up for the team and him in the next few weeks, really, or month.
Hey, Paul, when I read this story from Steve Kerr talking about managing Steph Curry's minutes, I thought about you because he talked about, well, instead of playing 35, we're playing 30. And I remember you talking about that. How do you rest guys? How do you rest guys? Well, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I mean,
and those 5 minutes are really big.
Yeah, and it's not brain surgery, right? So there, you get a minute and a half at the end of each quarter. You get 15 minutes at halftime, but you get a minute and a half after each quarter. So, what I would do is, if I wanted to rest somebody, I would take them out with about 2 or 3 minutes left in the end of the first quarter. So they would get that 3 minutes, which might be 8 minutes, depending on fouls, right? Then they're on the bench for a minute and a half. Then I'm going to wait, maybe a couple minutes, 3 minutes, depending on how we're playing in the second quarter. So you could get 10, 15-minute rest of real time in there, right? And you could take 5 minutes off, 4 minutes 4 minutes in the first half, 4 minutes. That's 8 minutes. Instead of 40 minutes, you're playing 32. You can be smart about it.
The last 9 games, his minutes have gone. He's averaged 30 minutes over the last 9 games, which is down from 35 minutes. And Kerr is saying, hey, I'm thinking about him long term, and I think this will help him.
Well, 3 minutes is me resting you that quarter. That's it. I take you out. Usually, I take you out with 4.5 minutes left. I take you out, with 5 minutes, 5.5 left. That's another minute. Then there's another minute and a half on the bench. Then I'm going to rest you. And I usually put you in with 8 minutes left in the second quarter. I put you in with 7 minutes. There's your minutes. There you go. You're done.
Yeah, I never heard anybody say that, but you and now Steve Kerr,
Well, I mean, you
two
put
great basketball minds.
there's two different things. Players want to play minutes, right? But there's limited minutes. You only got 5 spots on the floor, and they can only in the NBA they can only play 40 minutes each, right? So that's
Right.
200
Right.
minutes. There's 200 minutes you got to divide up, and you can't get any more minutes. However, you can break them up differently, right? So
Right.
we're both centers, and you're the starter, and I can play you 30 minutes and give me 10 minutes, or I can give you 25 minutes and give me 15 minutes, and we're depending on who's rolling. So there's different ways to do this.
Unless he's Moses Malone, and then you might get
Moses Malone ain't coming out of the game, and Moses Malone never got tired, and Moses Malone never heard nothing about load management. Moses Malone is, God rest his soul, just a great guy, great friend, but he's rolling over in his damn grave right now. Load management? What you talking about, load management? I don't need no load management.
come on, man. Speaking of back in the day, Buck should have never traded Ricky Pierce for Dale Ellis.
Hey, Buck should have never let me go to Cleveland either. So there.
Hey Mo, we're heading down the home stretch here. And again, we thank everybody for their questions and comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. And check us out at Chilltown on YouTube. Other things on your mind regarding the NBA as we head towards the playoffs, Paul?
Well, I think it's important in the East for the Bucks, if they're going to make a run at this thing, which they're playing better now, they need to keep in the second spot so they don't have to face the Celtics till the finals of the East. I think they're going to get that done.
Yep.
The other thing in the East, well, now it's Holiday if he's healthy, but I hear that Embiid is a couple weeks away, maybe, which is, if he had cartilage, that's doable. But at the same time, there's only a few weeks left. So if you can't get him back and playing a little bit, 15, 20 minutes in some games before the tournament, before the playoffs start, that's going to be a little struggle because, they're going to play in the playoffs. You're looking at them playing the Knicks, Indy, Miami, Cleveland. Hey, that first round ain't no joke, So, they're going to have Embiid. In the West, it's still the wild, wild West. Denver is proving that they're the cream of the crop. They jumped into the first spot over OKC. Minnesota is holding their own without Towns, which is surprising. Hopefully they can get Anthony Towns back, and then they can be a real threat. The Clippers are still a mystery, man. They have the deepest, most talented team in the league besides Boston, and they cannot make a run at it. They're still stuck, floundering around in the 4th spot. I thought they were going to make a run.
5-5 in the last 10 games, and I thought Cleveland was going to challenge Milwaukee. They're now 2 games back, and they're 4-6 in their last 10. And they kind of faded this time of year last year, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, the dog days of the season catch up to you. They're not a very deep team. Remember, we talked about this at the beginning of the year. They have a really good starting 5, but they're not very deep. So all of these minutes we're talking about, easily 3 or 4 or 5 minutes a game, no big deal. But when you add them up over 8 months, it really adds up, and you put a strain on your starters if you don't have a bench that can come through. And the Bucks are starting to figure it out. Portis is playing like a superstar. I mean, he's grabbing 14 boards and scoring 25 points a game. Giannis was out the other night, and they still beat up on OKC. I'm interested to see if Dallas is deeper than they have been. Kyrie, I mean, I don't know if you saw the left-hand hook he threw from the free throw line to win a game the other day. It was like,
Yeah.
that's amazing shot.
What a shot maker, man.
I just don't think the way Luka plays and handles the ball, and he's a great passer, great scorer, but he's hard to play with. I gotta imagine he's hard to play with.
And what I worry about them too, again, when you can lock in on them for 2 weeks in a playoff series, you can slow some of that stuff down.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm game planning and I'm playing the Dallas Mavericks in a 7-game series or whatever that is, I'm gonna figure out a couple guys on my bench that are physical, smart, and we're gonna beat up on Luka. We're gonna frustrate him. We're gonna physically beat up on him, and we're gonna frustrate him. He might get some tees. He might get frustrated, and that's how I'm gonna play him. Can you imagine the bad boys of Detroit playing Luka?
No, I can't. And he would not want to imagine that either.
The other team in the West that we talked about last year a little bit, that really hasn't made any strides, right, is Sacramento. Remember, Sacramento was like first or second team in the West last year.
Yeah, they were. They were second seed. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost to the Warriors, who were playing better back then. But they're stuck in the 7th spot. They just haven't progressed the way you thought they would progress.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the wild, wild west, man. I mean, Houston is hard charging. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Hey,
Lakers are no joke either. You got LeBron, AD's playing great. They got a decent bench too, even though they're looking at the play-in, but they made it to the West Finals last year in the play-in spot, right? So they're not freaking out, right?
Yeah,
They're gonna be in the locker room. Hey guys, we're in the play-in again. Let's get it done again, just like we did last year.
They're not scared of Oklahoma City. I think they beat them 3 straight. We talked about that last week. But Mo, we got to get out of here. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. This is so much fun being part of Sports Fluent. Make sure you subscribe to the show, Chilltown Hoops, on YouTube. That's Chilltown Hoops on YouTube. But for the big fella, Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace. See you next Monday, everybody.